Okay, we don't responding. See you later. Hey,
Okay.
she's hungry. Get her pizza. Get her something.
No, she's just eats. She's not hungry.
She's sending me messages, all kind of messages. Where are you? Come home. I'm hungry.
But she said she don't need pizza.
So give her something to make her omelet, something.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
Okay, see you later.
Yeah.
Babushka.
Let's take I-87 South, Major Deegan Expressway, Bronx. Turn left on Broadway. In 500 feet, turn right on Bailey Avenue.
Babuca, balabuca.
Turn right on Bailey Avenue.
Emergency vehicle. Emergency vehicle. Something happened.
No connection available. In 700 feet, turn right on West 230th Street. Then turn left to I-87 South, Major Deegan Expressway. Turn right on West 230th Street. Then turn left to I-87 South, Major Deegan Expressway. Turn left to I-87 South, Major Deegan Expressway. In 2.1 miles, exit right to exit 7 north south, I-95, US 1, cross Bronx Expressway toward New Haven, Connecticut, Trenton, New Jersey.
get out of the teens later today. A high of only 17. Factor in the wind, AccuWeather real field temperatures below zero most of the day. And same with tonight, even though winds come down, still a bit of a wind chill factor out there with clear skies as we drop to 8 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, some improvement. Some sunshine mixed with clouds. We're back in the 30s, high 31, above freezing for a while beginning Tuesday. Limited sunshine 37, 41 Wednesday, partly sunny, and we slip back into the 30s as we
In half a mile, use the second lane from the right to exit right.
Relative humidity 36%. Repeating that current temperature, 11. We're heading up to a high of 17 today in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Bill Degger on New York's weather station. 1010 winds on 92.3 FM. You can pregame with the Puppy
Exit
Bowl
right
today.
to exit 7 north-south. I-95, US 1, Cross Bronx Expressway toward New Haven, Connecticut, Trenton, New Jersey.
Referee and executive producer Dan Schaffner says this is something everybody can get behind because it's just Team Russ and Team
In a quarter of a mile, use the left lane to take exit 7S, I-95 south, US 1 south toward George Washington Bridge, Trenton, New Jersey. In 1.1 miles, exit right to exit 5, East 161st Street, McCombs Dam Bridge.
Puppy Bowl 22 is at 2 this afternoon. You can watch on Animal Planet, Discovery, TBS, True TV, HBO Max, and Discovery Plus. I don't think they put it on enough channels. To a story about one lucky cat on Long Island, first spotted walking in the center of the Northern State Parkway on the 3rd. 4 days after that, animal rescuer John DeBacker got calls that the cat was huddled against a bridge overpass at exit 31. DeBacker tells 1010 Winds he slowly approached the cat, and she did not run.
She's receiving treatment right now. She was very underweight, very dehydrated, had frostbite, and I don't know how she survived these temperatures.
In half a mile, use the right lane to exit right. Car on shoulder ahead.
Is an appropriate name for her. An unlicensed driver has now been charged for striking and killing a man, 62, who was crossing the Major Deegan. Cops say Robert Blakeney, 47, hit the victim around 5 Friday morning near East 233rd Street, where the highway goes through Van Cortlandt Park. The identity of the victim has not yet been released. A devastating accident for a U.S. Olympic
Exit right to
skier at the
exit
Winter
5,
Olympics in
East
Italy.
161st Street, McCombs Dam Bridge.
Lindsey Boyce, Olympics Milano Cortina 2026. Alpine skiing downhill.
Turn left on McCombs Dam Bridge. Then exit right to I-87 North, Major Deegan Expressway, Albany. In 700 feet, turn left on McCombs Dam Bridge. Then exit right to I-87 North, Major Deegan Expressway, Albany. In 3/4 of a mile, exit right to exit 3, East 1.
Lovely Live Agent. Donation's super easy, and your card can be fixed up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now.
In 0.2 miles, use the right lane to exit right. Exit right to exit 3, East 138th Street, Madison Avenue Bridge. Red light camera ahead.
Call my friends at CertaPro Painters. The professionals at CertaPro work fast, and they work clean. How do I know? I'm a customer. If you've been putting off a painting project, just give them a call at 1-800-GO-CERTA. That's CERTA with a C, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
In 900 feet, stay to the right to East 135th Street.
Independently owned and operated right here in our community. Schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. Imagine a world where all your smart devices work together seamlessly in one simple ecosystem. Introducing the Sloman Shield Link. With Sloman Shield Link, transform your home into a truly intelligent smart home experience. Control your
In a
lights,
quarter of a
heating,
mile,
cooling,
use the right lane to take exit 2, Willis Avenue toward 3rd Avenue Bridge.
The daily stresses add up, but with Sloman Shield Link, your home tech works in harmony, making life more convenient.
Exit right to exit 2, Willis Avenue toward 3rd Avenue Bridge.
Welcome to Lights On, Door Unlocked, only to hear your favorite music. A true smart home isn't just about getting
Bruckner
automation,
Boulevard.
all at your fingertips. Make your life easier and your home a safer haven. Learn more at SlomanShieldLink.com or call 1-800-ALARM-ME. Embrace the future of home living with Sloman Shield Link. 1010 Winds Entertainment, a slow weekend at the movies.
The cold blast across the country and the Super Bowl festivities have kept box office numbers down. But there is a tight battle for the top spot.
I don't think we should ever leave.
is expected to finish #1 again this weekend with around $9 to $10 million in ticket sales.
This is not an expedition.
The indie horror flick Iron Lung is holding strong too.
What's going on?
While rom-com Solo Mio
Let's go!
and the concert film that follows the K-pop boy band Stray Kids are expected to round out the top spot.
Stacey Lynn reporting the Director Guild of America Awards handed out last night in Beverly Hills. Paul Thomas Anderson took home the top prize, Best Director for One Battle After Another. It's a fun movie. He was up against Ryan Coogler for Sinners, Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, and Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. The awards are seen as a major predictor for the Oscars. Entertainment on 1010 Wins is sponsored by Shulman & Hill, New York's injury lawyers.
Go to hurtny.com.
That's hurtny.com.
Or someone you love struggling with opioid addiction? Have you tried to quit in the past, but started using again? At Columbia, they understand these challenges and are researching new medications to help
In
reduce
900
opioid
feet,
dependence.
use either lane to continue to 3rd Avenue Bridge, to 2nd Avenue, FDR Drive South, Lexington Avenue.
To participate in a paid research study led by the Columbia Research on Addictions program. As part of the study, you'll receive 1 month of outpatient treatment with buprenorphine, also known as Suboxone Subutex, with 4 weekly check-in visits. You'll be compensated for each screening and study visit. Participants who complete all visits can earn up to $390. Make an appointment today. Call now. 646-774-8189. That number again. 646-774-8189. That's 646-774-8189.
In a city that moves this fast, later's too late. Get it first, get it fast, get it now. 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world. Sunny, 11 degrees, but the real feel is 4 below zero. It's 12:40. Good afternoon. On the show, Kabbalah, here's what's happening. Yeah, it's still dangerously cold. The latest from AccuWeather coming up. Another message from Savannah Guthrie on social media pleading for the return of her mom, who vanished over a week ago. In Australia, an investigation underway about a possible mass drug
Continue to
overdose
3rd
at
Avenue
the
Bridge,
festival.
to 2nd Avenue, FDR Drive South, Lexington Avenue.
Death of Renee Good in Minneapolis. Greenwood Cemetery, one of Brooklyn's most famous and beautiful historical cemeteries, is offering a new form of burial. Super Bowl Sunday is upon us. The Patriots and the Seahawks kick off at 6:30. The Knicks are in Boston. The real feel right now is 4 below zero. The latest from AccuWeather in a moment. Wins news on 1241. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrow.
Leave the Bronx as you travel on the westbound side of the Bronx, passing the Bronx River Park.
Use the right 2 lanes to exit right. Then use the right 2 lanes to stay to the right to FDR Drive South.
About the bridges and tunnels, 5 in, 5 out. That's about it. That's the payment to Lincoln and
Use the right 2 lanes to stay to the right to FDR Drive South.
Midtown Tunnel, trying to get into the tubes to head back to Queens. You're going to use about 20 minutes there. And then the Manhattan side, heading into Manhattan, I'm noticing a lot of volume on the local streets coming into Manhattan over by 37th Street. Same thing with the 59th Street Bridge. You're okay across the span, but then when you get into Manhattan over by 1st and 2nd Avenue and 63rd Street, that ramp is all backed up. Downtown NCR is slow. Passing the 59th Street Bridge, a little tap in the brakes there. You might want to try the local avenues or the West Side Highway. Andre Guerrero, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Continue straight for 5.6 miles to exit 7, East 23rd Street.
Deaths so far across the common roads.
she was referencing a note sent to KOLD-TV Friday, one of several ransom notes they are investigating sent to the media. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen January 31st when she was dropped off by family at her Tucson area home. Authorities have not identified any suspects or ruled anyone out. I'm Julie Walker.
An investigation into ABC's The View. The show's female panel is often critical of President Trump and his allies. Fox News Digital is reporting that the FCC is looking into allegations that the show doesn't provide equal treatment for political candidates, which could be a violation of the Communications Act of 1934. This comes after Texas Democratic Senate candidate James Tallarico appeared on the show Monday. ABC's parent company Disney reportedly filed no exemption petition on the network to candidates running against Tallarico. In Australia, police are investigating a possible mass drug overdose at a popular music festival, killing one man, hospitalizing 6 other people after they collapsed at the Dream State event at Sydney Olympic Park. The Dream State Festival is an annual techno-trance music event that takes place over 2 days in Sydney and Melbourne. The event organizers shared a warning on their Instagram story during the festival saying that high-dose MDMA capsules and pills are circulating. More fallout from the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. France's culture minister has resigned over alleged financial links to the convicted sex offender, and in Britain, the chief of staff to the prime minister has resigned over the appointment of the new UK ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson.
In the Epstein files, it suggested that Mandelson sent market-sensitive information to Epstein when he was the UK government's business secretary during the 2008 financial crisis. In a statement, Sweeney says the decision to appoint Peter Mandelson was wrong. He has damaged our party, our country, and trust in politics itself. Starmer apologized for, quote, having believed Mandelson's lies, end quote. And he said none of us knew the depth of the darkness of the relationship between Mandelson and Epstein when Mandelson was vetted for the diplomat job. I'm Donna Warder.
The FBI has reportedly been told to stop investigating the ICE shooting death of Renee Good in Minneapolis. The New York Times reports that senior officials, including FBI Director Kash Patel, gave the order over concerns that pursuing a civil rights investigation would contradict President Trump's claim that Ms. Good violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who fired at her. Over the next few days, top Department of Justice officials presented alternative approaches to gain a search warrant, including that Ms. Good assaulted the agent or that her partner did. Have left their jobs in protest.
So, should we split the bill?
But math is the worst.
Not all math, because with New York Lottery's extra multiplier scratch-off game, you can multiply your winnings up to 200 times.
Wait, multiply my winnings?
Yeah, you take your winnings and multiply those winnings up to 200 times.
So all of my winnings times 200?
Yeah, that.
Oh, I've always said math's the best.
The laser team puts to multiply your winnings 30, 50, up to 200 times. Prizes up to $5 million. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. Or text HOPE, and my mom has decided to learn Japan, and she's good.
I'm just now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom? She started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I opened a restaurant and needed everything. Menus, signage, catering books. You suggested takeout menus.
One money pit with a side of fries.
But now at Staples, you get up to $125 off custom fridge orders.
$125 off. Now you're cooking. Brand your business in a big way at Staples.
That was easy.
Shop Staples in store online or hit the app by 442 unlock. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it. Thought my doctors made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact
Use the
doctor.
left 2 lanes to turn left on York Avenue.
Visit
Then turn left on
notimetowait.com.
East
Sponsored by
62nd Street.
Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Here's a harsh fact. 40% of women and almost 20% of men suffer from varicose or spider veins. And if you think this is just a cosmetic problem, think again. Varicose or spider veins, if left untreated, can lead to swollen or discolored legs, cramping, the inability to stand or walk, neuropathy, even worse, blood clots, which can travel to other parts of your body. But here's the good news. Advanced Medical Vein Treatment Centers offers plans that treat and cure the condition, not just cover up. Grab your phone, take down this number, and call 800-809-7989. That's 800-809-7989. When you call, you'll get free information on how you can live your life to the fullest again. Walk, exercise, sleep well. Your vein problems will not go away on their own, and in time can lead to major health issues. Call Advanced Medical Vein today for free information on fast and easy solutions that are covered by most insurance plans, Medicare included. Call 800-809-7989. That's 800-809-7989 today.
Around 7,000 motor vehicle accidents happen in New York City every single month. If you've been injured in a car accident, the law office of Isaac Abraham can represent you. Call 646-499-3131. If anyone can, Isaac Abraham, attorney advertising.
Valentine's Day coming up fast. We'll tell you about that. But first, Wins News Time 12:51. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrow.
Now we have a few things going on in New Jersey. We have a crash with injuries on Route 80. This is eastbound over by exit 52. You have all lanes closed in this area over by Passaic Avenue in Fairfield. Then there's an overturned vehicle on 287. This is over by exit 14. This is 287 in New Jersey over by Bridgewater Township. 2 left lanes are knocked out, and it's also affecting the ramp there. We do have a disabled vehicle on the George Washington Bridge. It's the eastbound ramp, exit 1B over by the Harlem River Drive. The right lane is closed, not really causing a major slowdown. We do have major slowdowns on the southbound FDR now from 79th Street down towards the 59th Street Bridge. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. We're dealing with a 5-minute delay round trip of the Lincoln and Holland. Not much of the Whetstone, Broadneck, and Triborough bridges. We have a southbound delay of the Cross Island and Queens heading down towards Northern Boulevard, northbound and southbound on the Van Wyck. You're hesitant over by Linden Boulevard. Then the westbound BQE in Brooklyn. Passing the Brooklyn Bridge, you have slowdowns over by Flushing Avenue. Andre Farrow, 10 wins on 92.3 FM.
And now the AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist Bill Dager.
And it's a bitterly cold forecast for the rest of our Sunday, but it gets better for the work week. Today, though, we'll have to endure real fuel temperatures that are near or below zero most of the rest of the day. A high of just 17 with the sunshine out tonight. Winds diminish a bit. Still a bit of a wind chill factor below zero, low of 8. Tomorrow, then, 30s as we go back to work. Sunshine mixed with clouds, high 31 with west wind. Tuesday above freezing, limited sunshine 37. Feels like a heat wave. Break out the shorts on Wednesday, 41 for the high, partly sunny. Then we fall back into the 30s as we stay dry late in the week. Right now, 11 and sunny. Relative humidity 36%. Repeating the temperature, 11. We're headed up to 17 today in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Bill Dager on New York's weather station. 1010 winds on 92.3 FM.
Greenwood Cemetery, one of Brooklyn's most famous historical cemeteries, but it's making headlines for a different reason.
With many cemeteries running out of space, some have begun offering eco-friendly alternatives to burial and cremation, turning loved ones into gardening soil. On the forefront, Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, where it's headstone to headstone for a full 478 acres. Operators tell the Wall Street Journal they'll begin a process called natural organic reduction soon. It uses the body's own bacteria to transform human tissue by placing remains in a sealed vessel with clover, hay, and straw. Microbes break down everything but the bones, which are ground into the final compost mix and used to fertilize cemetery meadows and trees. Opponents say the process could be toxic and lacks piety. Deborah Rodriguez for 1010 Wins.
It's almost Valentine's Day. We hear a lot about red flags when dating, but what about green flags?
The love between humans and pets is the ultimate green flag when it comes to human romance and relationships. The Rover.com survey gives pets set an example for you.
Focus on the most basic elements of trust and consistency and being treated kindly and with dignity.
88% of survey respondents said how a person treats their pet is a key indicator. University of Denver professor Philip Tedeschi agrees.
The ways in which some people will interact with other non-human animals can
consumers who've been feeling the pinch.
They had specifically looked to target the cuts in brands where low and middle income consumers were really struggling with the higher prices.
But will these price cuts result in smaller packages?
We have seen a lot of that coming out of the COVID pandemic. A lot of food companies have been playing around with the size of the packages. But in this instance, PepsiCo is very clear that the sizes will remain the same and the prices will get cheaper.
PepsiCo's announcement came ahead of the snack-intensive Super Bowl. I'm Charlie Pellett's Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. 1010 Wins.
Where I get my news, my weather, my traffic.
It's like they say, the station you know, people you trust. 1010 Wins.
On 92.3 FM, we've been telling everybody we know, all the listeners and people in the streets, that we love our Chef IQ mini oven and they gotta get one too. Now, folks, sounds like another Chef IQ moment. So now we've got the Chef IQ sensor meat thermometer that we've been talking about for months. And that meat thermometer's already a legend. This mini IQ oven isn't just mini, it is mighty. The IQ mini oven is a sleek 11-in-1 smart convection powerhouse that air fries, bakes, broils, roasts, toasts, slow cooks, and more. And by the way, 40% faster than traditional ovens. Full level results and zero guesswork.
Starting route to optical quality S home. Head southeast on State Route 25.
Easy to use, and even if you are a terrible cook, everything's going to come out great with the Chef IQ mini oven. It's built to perform, designed to impress, and you can get 30% off now with promo code BOOMER at chefiq.com. Again, that's promo code BOOMER at chefiq.com.
Hey, pick up the phone. It's me calling. Hey, folks, it's Gary from the Real Estate Authority. And let me first say thank you so much. I appreciate the business. 800-200-7317. And if you're looking to sell your property, pick up the phone, because there's not a house I can't sell. If you own a home right now, you've got gold. There's not enough supply for the demand, and money doesn't motivate me. You do. So guess what? I'm not looking to buy your property. I'm not looking to put you in harm's way. I'm looking to get you top dollar for your home, no matter what the situation is. You own more in your home than it's worth? I'll get your mortgage forgiven and have you walk away debt-free. You have equity? I know how to get you more. I know exactly what needs to be done, but you need to stay away from investors that are lowballing you and trying to take advantage of you. Call me, 800-200-7317. That's 800-200-7317. There's not a house I can't sell. Non-paying tenants or squatters? Not a big
Starting
deal.
route to 4551 45th Street.
800-200-7317.
Head southeast on Queens Boulevard.
Now this message, if you suspect nursing home abuse, call the law firm of Kelly and Grossman at 1-800-ELDERLY.
WINS FM in HD1 New York.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
HE-ING.com.
This is WNYC.
In 3/4 of a mile,
David
turn
First.
right onto
Economics
43rd
Radio is
Street.
Coming up next, stay with us for Wait, Don't Tell Me at 2. This is WNYC FM HD and AM in New York.
This is Freakonomics Radio, the show that explores the hidden side of everything, with your host, Stephen Dubner. Today,
Speed limit camera ahead.
How artificial intelligence is disrupting the healthcare
Speed
system.
camera
AI
ahead.
does not think the way a doctor does. A doctor has a very specific way of interpreting this sort of medical data. And we've shown in a series of studies and experiments, the AI doesn't care about that. But what we do know is it can accurately predict patients who have structural heart disease much better than I can.
In half a mile, turn right onto 43rd Street.
This is the biggest experiment in the history of medicine. And the experiment is already underway.
Red light camera ahead.
Really doing science.
Red light camera
I
ahead.
don't know the answer to the question, but I know it's important to answer.
Can AI save your life? That's coming up on Freakonomics Radio right after this hour's news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Rahm. The government is heading toward another partial shutdown unless lawmakers make a deal on funding for the Department of Homeland Security. But the top House Democrat says the negotiations have stalled. NPR's Luke Garrett reports.
Democrats demand changes to DHS after its agents killed 2 Minnesotans in January. Minority leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries want a requirement for judicial warrants, better identification for DHS officers, and new use of force standards. Last week, Senate Majority Leader John Thune called the demands, quote, unrealistic. And Jeffries tells CNN this Sunday the two sides aren't talking.
Unfortunately, we haven't heard back from the White House or Mike Johnson or Speaker or Leader Thune in terms of the demands that we've put on the table.
The DHS funding deadline is midnight Friday. Its agencies like the Coast Guard, the TSA, and FEMA would be affected if funding lapses. Meanwhile, DHS's mass deportation agenda would still have money to operate despite the shutdown. Luke Garrett, NPR News, Washington.
A vigil was held in Minneapolis last night for Renee Macklin Good, one of the 2 U.S. citizens killed by federal immigration officers. I believe in solid ground until I fall.
Gasolina, benzina, coffee, little bit of everything.
Your camera will be restarted intentionally as part of its installation flow. No connection available.
Yep.
Our way toward this over the last 10 or 15 years to make it better and safer, more accessible, more satisfying for everybody, both patients and clinicians, and I think eventually less expensive, although that's Sartor-esque.
The first chapter in the book is called An Overnight Revolution, 50 Years in the Making. Can you just talk for a moment about what happened during those 50 years, the successes, the failures, and why it's been such a slow boil?
Yeah, I can do it quickly if we talk successes, and it'll take longer to do failures. Slow boil is a couple of things. One is people are treating AI in healthcare like it's new. It is not. In the 70s and 80s, AI became a thing, and there was a lot of interest in medicine and artificial intelligence. If you think about it, what does a doctor do? What did I spend 8 or 10 years going to school and residency and fellowship learning to do? Is be intelligent, to take a whole body of information, symptoms and lab tests and all that, match it against a body of information, the medical literature and textbooks, and come up with a diagnosis and a treatment. So AI was very exciting, but the AI of the day was not ready for prime time for a few reasons. First of all, it was the old if-then AI. If a patient has a sore throat and swollen lymph nodes and a fever, they probably have strep throat or mononucleosis. That works fine for very simple problems, falls apart very quickly faced with the complexity of real medicine. The second was all of our data was on paper. Therefore, if you wanted to use these fancy new AI machines, you had to go to a separate computer and type everything in. So both of those caused the field to flame out, and AI went away from medicine for about 40 years.
Was it imaging as well, or no?
It was early for imaging. Imaging started in the 80s and 90s. It was largely around the cognitive work of doctors. Part of the problem was they started on the hardest problem, and the hardest problem is diagnosis. I remember speaking to one of
Go past this light, then at the next one, turn right.
Stanford. These are not dummies. These are MDs and PhDs in computer science. Said, why did you focus on diagnosis, the first thing to tackle? He said, we weren't naive about the complexity. It was just the most interesting problem. You can understand that. These were innovators. They were at the cutting edge. They really weren't thinking about practicality. That was an important lesson for today. You don't start on the hardest problem and one with the highest stakes, and one, if you get it wrong, you can kill somebody. You start on low-hanging fruit. You need to get buy-in and get trust from everybody, patients and doctors and nurses. I think we're not making that mistake this time, but that flamed out. And then the sort of big deal in medicine was about 15 years ago, we all went from paper records to these huge software systems called electronic health records. In 2008, fewer than 1 in 10 American hospitals or doctors' offices had an electronic health record. By 2016, fewer than 1 in 10 did not. In the space of a very short amount of time, we went from basically a paper-based industry where the idea of using advanced data analytics and machine learning and all that was impossible because all the data was on pieces of paper.
At the light, turn right onto 43rd Street, then turn left onto 47th Avenue.
Many of us really naively thought that's the ballgame. If we get our data in digital form, we'll be ready to innovate and do all this stuff like Amazon and Netflix and Apple, and medicine will be better and safer and cheaper. It didn't work. The lesson that I took from that era was a term coined by Eric Brynjolfsson at Stanford called the productivity paradox of IT. The idea
at the light, turn left onto 47th Avenue, then turn left onto 45th Street.
And snap your fingers and you will quickly transform the industry to make it better and more productive.
But that almost never happens.
Never happens. Does not work. And the paradox is it looks so
Go past
good
this
on
light,
the PowerPoint
then at the next one, turn
the
left.
ads that were used to sell it to us. It doesn't work, and it doesn't work partly because the technology needs to get better and all the iterative versions 12.7 needs to happen. But much more importantly, the industry needs to transform the way it thinks about its work, organizes itself, the culture, the governance, and we didn't do that. In 2012, JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, published a crayon drawing, probably the first time it ever did that, from a 7-year-old girl who went in to see her pediatrician. What it shows is the girl sitting on the exam table, mom's next to her, sister's in the corner, and in the other corner of the room is the doctor with his back to the patient, typing away. It's a beautiful drawing.
At the light, turn left onto 45th Street, then the destination is on your right.
I can tell you that no doctor was happy about being transformed into a data entry clerk. And patients noticed it. They went to see their doctors, and their doctor had the head down, typing away. And why did that happen? Because the computer became this enabler of all of these outside entities who used to have no ability to influence what the doctor did, because I was scribbling on a piece of paper, now had a way of making me check 12 boxes about, did I examine 9 body parts, and did I ask you if you wear seatbelts, do you exercise, and all that. All noble questions, but now there was a forcing function that you could make the doctor record all this stuff, and so people did. And importantly, when we send a bill off to the insurance
the destination
company,
is on your
the amount
right.
of money we get paid is partly related to the nuances of how I record the note,
which creates some perverse incentives right there.
Totally ridiculous incentives to say the right words in order to get the best bill. And then a few years after that, federal legislation mandated that patients could not only see their basic information and maybe their medications, but actually could read my note and see their x-ray results or see their lab results. There was absolutely no information to help the patient figure out what any of that meant, or even to make an appointment, other than to maybe forward the results back to the doctor and say, I'd like an explanation, please, which just sludges up your inbox even more. The companies did what seemed logical. They put a little button at the bottom of the screen that said, send a message to your doctor. Lo and behold, patients, being normal human beings, click that button all the time. Electronic health records have led to a huge increase in what is called pajama time for physicians. We talked about that in an episode called The Doctor Won't See You Now, number 650. The American Medical Association, in a recent survey, found that roughly 20% of physicians spend 8 or more hours a week outside the office wrestling with electronic health records. But it seems that a new day may finally be dawning. The first really widespread use of AI in healthcare now, and really the one that took over very quickly in a year or two, is what's called an AI scribe or ambient intelligence. Every doctor at UCSF now has access to a tool where if you're coming in to see me, I put my phone down on the desk, say, is it okay if I use this to create my note, press a little button, and it records our conversation. At the end of a conversation, I press a button, and there is your note. And this is not just a transcript, this is an assimilated transcript, you might say, huh? A transcript would be worth...
Your camera will be restarted intentionally as part of its installation flow.
the next one. On to the next one.
And the world is our commitment to you. Please commit to us with your financial contribution today by becoming a member now. Visit WNYC.org and click on Donate.
WNYC is supported by Brooklyn Solar Works, a Brooklyn-based solar firm working to bring custom rooftop solar to NYC homes and businesses. Details at brooklynsolarworks.com.
You're listening to Freakonomics here on WNYC. Looking ahead to tomorrow, flu cases are on the decline in New York City, but the virus remains deadly. Tomorrow on Morning Edition, here's some info from Health Commissioner Dr. Michelle Morris on how New Yorkers can protect themselves. Morning Edition weekdays from 5 to 9 a.m. here on WNYC. 11 degrees right now. We're going to be warming all the way up to 16 today. Sunny and windy and cold. We're looking at an overnight low of 12 degrees before things start to turn around tomorrow. We'll have sunshine and a high in the low 30s. By Wednesday, it looks like we could be seeing a high around 40 degrees.
This is Freakonomics Radio with your host, Stephen Dubner.
Bob Wachter, who is chair of the Department of Medicine at the University of California, San Francisco, has been telling us that AI has recently been proven super helpful to healthcare providers by acting as a digital scribe and cutting down on other paperwork. So that's great. But how about some more ambitious uses of AI in healthcare? For that, we will go to Pierre Elias. He did research with Wachter at UCSF, took a leave from medical school to work for an AI healthcare startup, then went back and got his medical degree in 2016. And what is Elias up to now?
I'm a cardiologist at Columbia University. I'm an assistant professor in biomedical informatics, and I'm also the medical director for artificial intelligence for New York Presbyterian Hospital.
Okay, that's the part I want to hear more about. What does that mean exactly, to be medical director for artificial intelligence at a big urban hospital chain like that?
So my center develops, validates, and deploys AI technologies to help us find patients with diseases so that we can take better care of them. We run the largest cardiovascular AI screening program in the country.
How big is it? And is it just your organization and all its branches, or does it go beyond your organization?
The majority of our work happens within our organization. This is 8 hospital centers, 180 clinics in the greater New York area. But we really do try to make a lot of this work exist outside of those walls. I co-founded a consortium called Train Cardio, the Task Force for Research Advancement in AI and Cardiology. This is 20-plus institutions around the country where we regularly validate each other's work, collaborate on large projects, and when possible, freely share that information or that data with the world so that other people can build upon it.
When you talk
In
about
300
building
feet,
out this network
turn right on
of
46th
people like
Street.
yourself, give an example of a particular type of project.
A number of years ago, I got a call in the middle of the night from an outside hospital, and they said, we have a patient that we think we need to send to you urgently. This was a gentleman who had shown up 3 months before in their emergency department, and he had shown up with some chest tightness and shortness of breath. They checked him out, they ran a battery of tests, and they said, listen, you're not having a heart attack. We hear a murmur in your heart. You should go see a doctor about that, but you're fine. You should go home. He feels better. He goes home. He's
Turn left on 43rd Street.
2 months go
Then
by,
turn right on
and
Greenpoint
he has
Avenue.
an episode of the same sensation, this chest tightness and shortness of breath, and he goes back to that same emergency department. But this time, he's in respiratory distress. They end up having to send him to their intensive care unit. They have to intubate him and put him on a ventilator. And at that point, they do an ultrasound of his heart, and they see that he has severe valvular heart disease. We have 4 valves in our heart, and like the plumbing at home, it can get rusty or leaky, and if it gets really severe, it can become life-threatening. Columbia is a world-leading center in valvular heart disease, and so they were calling me in the middle of the night saying, we really need to send this guy to you. I said, absolutely. He came, and I spent the rest of the night working on him, but unfortunately by the morning, he was in multi-organ failure. He arrested and he passed away. This was a gentleman who otherwise had no past medical history, was otherwise healthy, and I will never forget having to sit down with his partner and say, I'm so sorry, there's nothing I can do for him. The thing I became convinced of was, if we had just known about this disease, we would have been able to do something
In half
about
a
it. We could have
mile,
gotten a same-day
turn left on
outpatient
Van Dam
procedure, and I
Street.
think he'd be alive today.
And it's hard to imagine that you could have known about the disease when he had been A, in an emergency department at a different hospital, and then B, sent to you. So how rare or difficult to detect is this disease?
This is the fundamental challenge in all of medicine, is you can't treat the patient you don't know about. Oftentimes we're waiting until patients develop symptoms, but for many diseases, symptoms are a late presenting case. I became obsessed with this question, which is we don't have a screening test for the most common cause of death in the world, which is most forms of cardiovascular disease. And the reason for that's relatively straightforward. The way that we diagnose most forms of cardiovascular disease today is either too invasive or too expensive to do at a population level.
Too invasive would be what?
Cardiac catheterization, where we poke you in your arm or your groin and then we shoot some dye into the vessels of the heart to take a look at them.
How often is that performed on a healthy patient?
Never. You would never do a cardiac catheterization on a healthy patient. Patients would be presenting with symptoms like chest pain or inability to exercise before you would consider doing a cardiac catheterization.
Okay, and the too expensive option then would be what?
It would be an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of the heart. An echocardiogram costs a few $1,000s. It's an hour-long procedure where they look at the heart in a bunch of different angles. And so we end up in a situation where the way we diagnose
Speed camera ahead.
is too expensive or too invasive to do at a population level. So we wait until patients oftentimes present with symptoms, which is late in their disease course, and patients have worse outcomes because of that.
Okay, so all you need to do is what then?
All you need to do is magically find a way to create a cheap, ubiquitous test that can screen for the most common cause of death in the world. And I became obsessed with this. I asked myself, well, is there anything that we're doing today that could fill that role? And what came up with was the humble electrocardiogram. So if you've watched any medical drama and you see the squiggly lines in the background that go beep, 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 that's an electrocardiogram where we measure the surface electrical activity of the heart. If you have an Apple Watch, you can do a 1-lead electrocardiogram right now. We're taught from medical school onwards that you cannot diagnose those diseases with an electrocardiogram.
In 700 feet, turn left on Queens Boulevard.
Could AI do exactly that? We built one of our first AI models. And
turn left on Queens Boulevard.
It worked really well. We tested it on nearly 20,000 patients in a retrospective data set, and we found this AI model could outpredict me in trying to find valvular heart disease from the electrocardiogram. And then we asked ourselves, well, could we find all forms of structural heart disease from an electrocardiogram? And that set us off on this journey of the last 5 years, where we built this technology called EchoNax, which looks at an electrocardiogram and tells us, does this patient have structural heart disease or not?
Did you identify that relationship, or is it just that...
In 700 feet, use the left lane to turn left on 36th Street.
I didn't. Only AI did. And for a long time, we thought one of the holy grails would be, hey, you know, the AI would see something, it would tell us what it saw, we could teach it back to doctors, and then they would go and see that. But it doesn't work that way. Modern AI techniques still don't do a very good job of explaining what it is that the AI sees.
Turn left on 36th Street.
It's doing its own thing, and we can't fully explain what it's doing, but what we do know is it can see things that we can't, and it can accurately predict patients who have structural heart disease much better than I can.
Construction reported ahead. Use the left lane to turn left on 34th Street. Turn left on 34th Street.
For these electrocardiograms, does the patient have structural heart disease or not? So we ask the yes/no question.
Use the left lane to stay to the left to Ed Koch Queensboro Bridge, Upper Roadway. Then turn left on 32nd Place.
It's not very good, but you know, the cardiologists weren't surprised. We didn't think that the cardiologists would do very good. They didn't think they would do very good. Then we asked AI, and it was 78%. The cardiologists were as far away from random chance as they were from the AI model in being able to predict which patients had structural heart disease or not from their electrocardiogram. The really shocking finding, though, was half of the patients that the AI model thought were high risk for undiagnosed structural heart disease don't go on to get an echocardiogram in the next year. So what that told us is there was smoking gun evidence that there was a lot of people out there with undiagnosed structural heart disease, and that led to us running something called Cactus. This is the largest cardiovascular AI screening trial in the country. It's happening in 8 emergency departments in the greater New York area. Any patient who shows up in any one of these emergency departments, if they get an electrocardiogram, they're automatically being screened by the AI model for
turn left on 32nd Place.
One of the most striking was a
In 700 feet, turn right on 47th Avenue. Then turn left on Van Dam Street. Use the left lane to turn left on Skillman Avenue. Turn left on Skillman Avenue.
And they had sent him home with an albuterol inhaler. They follow up.
Your camera will be restarted intentionally as part of its installation flow. The person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that is not.
We think about processing medicine. Coming out back to the break, as any new technology spreads.
In 900 feet, use the left 2 lanes to stay to the left to Ed Koch Queensboro Bridge, lower roadway. Stay to the left to Ed Koch Queensboro Bridge, lower roadway.
They obviously do want to replace the doctor. I'm Stephen Dubner. This is the Freakonomics Radio Guide to Getting Better. We will be right back.
Freakonomics Radio is supported by Progressive Insurance, where customers can compare prices on car insurance against different companies side by side to find a rate that works for them. Options to fit most any budget. More at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Freakonomics Radio is supported by Odoo. Odoo streamlines every aspect of a company into one simple business management platform. More information at odoo.com.
Next time on the New Yorker Radio Hour, I'll talk with the podcaster Ben Shapiro, one of the leading voices in research. Double on robotic politics and death.
No connection available. The person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set.
And the person known as America's Librarian, who is that, you ask? Well, it's Michael Street. He's the host of the new reboot of Reading Rainbow, and he's joining the gang to play Not My Job. That's on the way coming up. It's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. It happens at 2 o'clock, and we do hope you'll stick around for it. Otherwise, here this afternoon, we do have a cold weather advisory in effect through 10 a.m. tomorrow. We've bumped up here to 14 degrees, potentially on our way to 16. Still gusty. Those gusts as high as 34 miles per hour here with some wind chill values below 0. Headed back now to Freakonomics.
This is Freakonomics Radio with your host, Stephen Dubner.
Many companies are investing many billions of dollars to build out new AI infrastructure in healthcare for all sorts of applications. Clinical treatment and risk prediction, drug discovery, revenue and staffing operations, on and on. There's also one massive incumbent to consider, the electronic health record company Epic, which claims to maintain at least one record for 325 million people. Here again is Bob Wachter, chair of the Department of Medicine at UCSF and the author of A Giant Leap, How AI is Transforming Healthcare and What That Means for Our Future.
Epic won this market. This was a little tiny company started by Judy Faulkner in the basement of an apartment off the University of Wisconsin. She became the most successful female entrepreneur probably in American history. It's a really remarkable story. I think they won because they were the best. The best was partly integration.
third-party tools.
So who do you think will ultimately win the AI healthcare platform wars? Do you think it'll be the big incumbents like Google and Microsoft? Do you think it'll be the well-funded AI startups, or maybe be someone or something else?
I was on Google's healthcare advisory board when Eric Schmidt came in and said, this is one of the biggest things that people search on. We're going to figure this out. And they started building a version of their own electronic health record. About a year and a half later, Eric came in and disbanded us. He said, this is too hard for us. And I said, wow, this is too hard for Google? That must be pretty hard. Google, Amazon, Apple, NVIDIA, Facebook, Microsoft, all have designs on healthcare. They know how important it is. They know how big an industry it is. They all seem to screw it up time after time. It's not that they don't have enough smart people or enough resources. It is that so much of healthcare is local baseball. How payment works, how doctors think, how things are organized. They're just so far away from the day-to-day workflow. The real winner here probably is Epic, meaning that this advantage of incumbency, of having all the data in it already, and so far they are building AI tools for basically everything. They're probably not as good as a tool built by a third-party company that's focusing on this one use case, but the advantage of having an integrated tool and building tools that are good enough, and if I'm a hospital, I'm trying to decide, do I wait for Epic's tool? All I have to do is turn a switch and it's on, and I'm sure Epic's going to be in business in 5 years. Or do I buy a tool from this really cool new startup down south of Market in San Francisco, but I'm not sure they're going to be in business? A healthcare organization like mine, their default setting is to buy it from Epic rather than to buy it from the third party.
I assume that everyone in the world has tried or is trying to buy Epic?
Everyone in the world has tried to buy Epic, and the answer from Judy Faulkner, is now 82, is that it is not for sale. She does not accept any investment. In her will, it says that it must remain private. It goes to a consortium of current employees and her family and cannot be sold.
And how do you feel about that?
They have been a massively successful company, and the product they produce is quite good. We use it, and I'm reasonably satisfied with it. I think over time, there's no way that a single company can produce the best AI tools for use cases that span the range from an AI scribe to an AI diagnostic support system to an AI tool that deals with the insurance company to an AI tool that facilitates clinical research. It's just no way that one company sitting on farmland 10 miles from Madison can possibly do that. Their ambition is to do that. I think the world is a better place if this is more open to third-party innovators bolting in, and that's going to require more federal push to do that because that is not in the company's DNA.
So what do you see as the proper role of government in regulating AI in healthcare generally?
Well, I think that's one. One is to create a level playing field and to be sure that innovators have a fair chance to succeed in an environment where there is a tendency toward monopoly, in part because of this idea that one company owns all your data. The issue of regulating AI tools, I have a chapter on it, and I came up with the very unsatisfying answer of this is really hard. And our existing structures, meaning the FDA or the Joint Commission, which currently accredits American hospitals, are not fit for purpose for this tool. The FDA can regulate a new radiology tool because they've regulated devices forever. They've regulated pacemakers and defibrillators, and they've regulated drugs. They can regulate a tool that gives a static answer, the same answer 3 years from now that it gives today, and whose implementation, the way we put it in at UCSF versus the way it's put in a rural hospital 100 miles from here, probably isn't going to change all that much about the way a atorvastatin works on your blood pressure or a CT scan reader works in giving you an accurate reading. But most of AI is not like that. Most of AI can shapeshift tomorrow compared to what it did today. Most of what it's doing is giving answers or insights based on the literature. How is that different than regulating a textbook or a medical journal? So I don't think we have even begun to think about what the regulatory infrastructure looks like to get this right. I think the Trump administration is going too far in an anti-regulatory way, but I do think the risk of over-regulating this in the short term is higher than the risk of under-regulating it. But in terms of my institution, a place like UCSF, is a $15 billion business that has a terrific reputation, It's surrounded by a whole lot of malpractice attorneys. We're going to be really careful about bringing an AI into our system until we're pretty darn sure that it's going to work and not hurt anybody. There are a lot of existing guardrails, along with just professional conservatism, that I think if you try to have government regulate every single decision support tool, that's impossible. There's no way they can keep up with the speed of innovation here. So I think we've got a lot of work to do to figure out the regulatory environment, but in the short term, I think the right regulatory touch is the right way to go.
In 250 feet, turn right on East 62nd Street.
About how to lay out a plan for a full between AI and healthcare. And let's say that merger happens. The healthcare system. I went back to Pierre Elias to ask about this.
I see the ability for every patient
in 500 feet, arrive at the pickup.
And in a cost-effective and affordable way, we make sure that the right steps are being taken for each patient so that they're being effectively triaged, being screened for diseases the way they need to, and wherever there is uncertainty about what should happen next, we actually are able to quantify what that degree of uncertainty is and help patients navigate through that care journey without second guessing what is actually going on.
How do you see the role of the physician changing? And I would assume this means that medical education should be changing quite a bit too, yes?
I think the role of the physician continues to be that of the person on the journey with you. I think about all of the scariest and most important things I've done in my life, and I think about the people who were there to guide me through it. Those people leave indelible marks on you and help guide you through this challenging process. It may not be that mechanically they're having to do all of the work.
In 100 feet, turn right on 2nd Avenue.
Helping you reflect on what this journey means, helping find the places where there are lingering questions and uncertainty, and helping prepare you for what the next steps are going to be. I practice cardiology in a different way than I was trained to, because I believe we have to think about the way we practice medicine in new and novel ways, and AI is going to allow us to do that.
I think for now, it would be a mistake to
in 1.5 miles, turn right on East 31st Street.
Off the plates of trainees.
That's Bob Wachter again.
Because I think you could easily enter a death spiral where the AI is better than the doctor because the doctors are getting worse.
You're talking about de-skilling now, yeah?
I'm talking about de-skilling.
Is the de-skilling argument, which is that, you know, if physicians continue to rely on technologies like AI, they will lose the ability or the skill to actually do what they used to do. Is that an argument being made by the physician incumbency to scare off AI?
Partly, but not completely. The question about de-skilling in medicine is complicated. There are parts of de-skilling, for example, the physical exam we're definitely not as good at as we used to be. There are elders who lament that partly because the physical exam was about its clinical value and partly about the laying on of hands and sort of the connection between the doctor and the patient. But I think it gets romanticized. I would rather have a CAT scan than my lung exam to try to figure out what's going on in your lungs or your abdomen. So there are certain parts of de-skilling that just happen because the new technology is better than what we used to do, and you know.
Traffic camera ahead.
Last year, a study published in the Lancet Gastroenterology and Hepatology journal, one of my favorite journals for light reading, looked at this question of potential de-skilling because of AI.
Very experienced gastroenterologists who did this procedure called colonoscopy, looking up into people's colons, were given an AI colonoscopy tool, which puts a little box around lesions inside the colon that it deems suspicious, and finds some things that the doctors will miss. They had access to the tool for 3 months. The doctors liked it, and they benefit from it. Then
traffic camera ahead.
Their performance on doing their colonoscopies fell significantly after the tool was turned off. These were doctors who had an average of 10 years of experience doing this procedure. So in just 3 months of exposure to this AI crutch, they got less good at this thing that they had been doing for 10 years. These questions of how the AI interacts with human actors in really complex systems where the stakes are high and the AI is getting better every minute and the humans are not, I think are really fascinating. Let's say that AI in healthcare delivery continues to improve and augment
In a
the
mile,
lives
turn
of
right
patients
on
and
East
physicians
31st
the way
Street.
that you're describing in this book, the way that you hope it does. I'm curious what you see that looking like, and especially how the role of the physician changes. We did an episode a few years ago about what are called cobots, robots that are collaborative. This was in nursing homes in Japan. They were these big physical robots that could help lift a patient, clean, and so on. And the finding from research around them was that the healthcare workers actually loved it, A, and B, were able to lean into what they as humans are good at, which is dealing with patients on a human level rather than just moving them around and getting them to the bathroom and stuff like that. So if we use that as the sort of model here, let's say for a physician like yourself or maybe someone a generation or two younger, if AI unfolds the way that you're hoping it does in 10 years, let's say, what does the physician get to do that maybe they're really great at now that some of the burden has been lifted by AI? I think the fundamental question of AI in healthcare is not creating my note or reviewing my chart. It is computerized decision support. It is the AI helping me make the best decision for you as a patient based on things about you, but also about the medical literature, which evolves, changes very, very quickly. And the best decision is not only the one that provides the best outcome, but the one that's the most cost effective. It's been said that the most expensive piece of technology in a healthcare system is the doctor's pen, which of course is no longer the pen, it's the keyboard. Where this really will have an impact is I'm seeing you in my office or in the hospital, and it's not like I now pull out my phone and say, this is a 52-year-old man who comes in with this, this, and this. The AI is already reading your chart. It already knows all those things about you, and it's suggesting, in real time, suggesting diagnoses and suggesting what the right test would be and what the right treatments would be. Now, do you need me in that setting? I think so, but we'll have to see. I think you need me to interpret all of this, to be a tiebreaker when there's a tough call, to deal with some complex, sometimes ethical issues, to weigh your own preferences as a patient or family. The tech companies are playing this as we have no interest in replacing the doctor. We really want to be a co-pilot. We want to be your wingman. But they obviously do want to replace the doctor. I think for the foreseeable future, the complexity of medicine, the stakes of medicine, the regulatory environment, and periodically I do have to say to a patient, you have Alzheimer's disease or you have cancer. I don't think patients are going to accept the idea that a bot's going to tell them that. But although you do write about the fact that AIs can do better in the empathy realm than humans, that was one of the shockers that in those early years, which is really only 2 years ago, when we saw AI passing the medical licensing board or doing well on really tough clinical cases, it was like, okay, it's pretty smart. And then studies began to come out saying if you did a blinded trial of a patient actor being given answers either by doctors or by AI, they often preferred the answers from AI, and the AI appeared to be more empathic. Of course, the AI has no empathy, but it can fake it really, really well. Okay, Bob, here's what you've said that you hope AI can do. Produce better outcomes for patients, lower costs, and add some relief for beleaguered doctors and nurses. Then you say, however, that the success of all this will depend on history, politics, economics, pride, regulations, leadership, lawsuits, guilds, culture, workflows, inertia, greed, hubris, vibes, and zeitgeist, as much as by graphical processing units, diffusion models, and neural networks. In other words, the tech can work, but then we get those layers of people who may feel that their realms are being infringed upon. So the way you described it there, it sounds like what some people like to call a wicked problem, which is basically unsolvable because there are so many constituencies, and so many of those constituencies have incentives that are cross-purpose with the other constituencies. So when you take a look at the big picture, how much optimism do you have? Do you think that the upsides of this technology will be able to be successfully integrated into healthcare delivery itself, or do you think that AI becomes yet another piece of the mess that is the U.S. healthcare system? I would interpret that very, very, very long sentence as saying it's not just about the power of the incumbents, although
mile, turn right on East 23rd Street.
Humans and their systems and their governance and their culture and their own self-interest. I harken back to the old Yogi Berraism.
Traffic camera ahead.
Theory and practice there is. I think that's what we're going to see. In practice, that's where the rubber is going to hit the road here. I think it's going to be net very positive. Patients think that too. There was a Gallup survey last year. When people were asked their attitudes about AI, they were really negative about its impact on jobs, on the political system, and I sort of feel the same way. The one area they felt positively about it was in medicine. And I think that
go past this light, and at the next one, turn right.
The system is so screwed up. Everybody recognizes that we are in desperate need of reform in healthcare, and our typical go-to response in medicine when we can't do what we need to do is we just hire more humans. We can't afford it. We're already 20% of the GDP and bankrupting businesses and people.
In 1.4 miles, turn right on 10th Avenue.
We could afford them, at least for the foreseeable future. This is going to help me do my job, help me be more of the doctor or the nurse I want to be, help me focus on the patient. So that leaves me optimistic over the next 10 years. Will there be jobs for doctors 20, 30 years from now? Well, unless I live to 120, that's no relevance to me. But, I think there will be.
That again was Robert Wachter, whose new book is called The Giant Leap. We also heard from Wachter's one-time mentee, Pierre Elias, at Columbia University. My thanks to both of them. This is the final episode